Hello and welcome to Bath Spa University Academic Centre Russell Khaimah. Today we're going to be discussing emerging technologies with a colleague and some panel members. So I want to welcome them. Usman, welcome, and your panel members, please have a seat. Hello there, welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for attending. Over to my colleague Usman to start the session.
Thank you so much, Mr. Billy. So I will introduce the panel first and then we will start the discussion. On my far left we have Karylle and then we have Julian. On my right side we have Khayll and on my far right we have John. So the topic of the discussion is continued growth in the use of digital and emerging technologies will ultimately have a negative impact on environment. So the form is all yours.
So we want to talk about first what digital technologies are, and we're also going to be looking at what the environmental sustainability issues we currently have today. So when we talk about digital technologies, we're referring to these technologies or systems or devices that process or manage data. And a good example of these technologies would be the Internet of Things, the social media, our smartphone devices and stuff. And then the environmental issues we currently have today, the common ones would be climate change. Climate change, which is commonly caused by fossil fuels. These fossil fuels are commonly used by the manufacturing industry to create their products, and this is a good cause of global warming. And the next one would be climate change, which is often confused with global warming. Climate change,
Yeah, there are many companies that they are actually using these materials to make the products, and I think this is going to have a negative impact on environment. But at the same time, we are seeing that these technologies or these applications are actually contributing for the betterment of humanity as well. So we have to see this trade-off that are we going to right direction or not. So that is very much debatable.
Yeah. The production of these technologies, the factories that produce technologies to help lessen the use of environmental materials, they themselves use environmental resources to produce these technologies. Very ironic.
Yeah, same like a paper.
Yep.
Nowadays there is a digitalization of all these paperwork. So we can see at the signature of every email that don't print this, try to avoid printing this because we have to cut trees to make paper. So that is very important point.
it really has helped with reducing deforestation and saving our natural resources for the more use and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Sir, I want to talk about environmental monitoring.
Yeah.
I think that although technology does have some sort of effect on our environment, I think without technology, it would also not be possible to monitor climate changes, to monitor our air quality, our water quality, and it helps us anticipate or prepare for future changes in the environment.
When we talk about environment, so humans are actually very vital part of this. So with these technologies, don't you think that humans are actually their mental health and physical health is being affected?
Yes, sir, definitely. I think our environment and where we are definitely affects our health, obviously because of the natural causes, and also not even just our health, even our mental health too, not just physically. I think living in a good environment contributes a lot to how a person functions.
Technology is very common today, so it's definitely affected our routines as human beings since centuries ago.
Yes. It's really interesting.
And there is also a technology that helps human and other people to clean the environment, like in the I researched it last time that there are machines or tools that are used to clean our environment, and
So it's getting the mix, getting the balance right, of using technology, but then, not affecting, our environment. I'm really worried about microplastics, for example, or plastics in the ocean is just absolutely horrific. You see that and it really hurts you inside when you see these things, It was funny during the pandemic, I remember, there was no aircraft flying or hardly any aircraft flying, or there was no cars, driving. All the cars were sort of parked, in the house. And you hear the birds singing for the first time. You didn't see contrails. So it was kind of, it's like a special time, Yeah, amazing.
Sir, about the ocean, there's actually this, they're creating this new bioplastic thing that actually it decomposes easily and it's not too harmful to our ocean.
And that's where the technology comes in, isn't it fantastic? We can make things now and we're ecologically minded to make sure it looks after itself.
Like instead of fueled cars, now we have electronic, vehicles. So that are being used for the transportation.
And the good thing about technology too is it's recyclable. You can, for example, some people who don't use a certain gadget like a phone or an old phone, they can resell it or trade it for something else instead of just disposing it. Which is a very good thing about technologies. We can recycle it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because you worry about landfill, you just it's almost like lifting the carpet and just sweeping it under the carpet, and we can't see it anymore, so the problem's gone away, Yeah.
If you've seen those pictures from articles online, like these bundles of plastics coming up together in one specific area, and this is also causing these storms.
Yes.
Like if you guys heard of Yolanda from the Philippines, which is a very tragic incident, which is also caused by plastics. So.
So
And you were right to point out the difference between climate change and global warming. So global warming is just one part, but we're seeing extremes, aren't we? We're seeing extremes in rainfall, some parts of the world. Pakistan was flooded, and then we're seeing extreme heat in areas and drought in others, and we're seeing all these records being broken all of a sudden. This is the first time, and so since records began, it's really interesting. Yeah.
Speaking of records, sir, I've read a research from the Digital Power Group. I think they're a research facility based in the US, and they're suggesting that technology these days use more than 10% of the world's global electricity production, so which is a lot. To put it lightly, it's the electricity generated in both Japan and Germany combined, so there is a lot of electricity and power used just by digital technologies.
What do you think about emerging technology, or emerging nations rather, using coal, for example, to accelerate their economies, whereas you've got other developed economies are using wind power, solar power, hydro much more. What do you think about that? Is it not fair for them to develop using coal?
I think coal is a much more finite resource than wind and hydro.
Yes.
So I think using coal is still using unnecessary natural resources, but on the other hand, we have another option to use.
Yes, absolutely. So we should be encouraging the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only thing about coal is that if we're opening a new coal power station that's cleaner than some of the other ones, and we decommission the old ones, and we're, at least that's better. It's better than continuing with the old, I guess. Interesting, very, very interesting. So, what struck you when you were researching this? What really kind of struck you as, what did you learn that you didn't know before, kind of thing?
Sure, so about the electricity problem, yeah, it's true that technology uses a lot of electricity, but I've read somewhere, I think from the US Department of Energy, that they've started using smart grids. It's like it's a technology that distributes electricity in like a really efficient way, and it's so much better than what most technologies use today. And I really hope something like that.
That sounds fantastic. And microgeneration, so that because in the UK we're talking about small nuclear power plants actually in parts of cities, big cities. So we're actually going to miniaturize nuclear power plants and have them just to look after a site of a city. It's going to be amazing. So these microgeneration things, fascinating.
And I think one of the things that struck me most when researching is that most people talk about the negative side, but not enough on the positive side.
Yes.
And I think that's why we often fail to like apply these positive things digital technologies have to do for us. It's because we're always looking at the negative side. So like we're always thinking that technologies are really harmful for our environment. So we just completely forget about how it's going to help us. Yeah.
That's really good. That's very positive.
I think when we talk about sustainable goals, so I think this word is talked in different parts of the world when they talk about the environment. So sustainability, I think it can only be achieved if we use these emerging technologies efficiently. So like you have mentioned that we can use it for monitoring.
Yes.
So that is a good part of emerging technology that we are using it. Now we are using, NASA is exploring different other places where we can see the possibility of life. So that is another part that humans can have some opportunities or chances, or there is a possibility if they can find for this for the humanity. I think we can use it for betterment of the humanity, and that's all depend on us, on humans, and on governments, that how they are going to apply that.
Yeah, I'm quite excited about modelling, this modelling, using technology to model the effects of climate change, for example, and being able to make sure we look after vulnerable parts of the world. There's some of the sort of South Pacific islands are very vulnerable to any rise in sea level, for example. So knowing that and being able to model what that might look like, and then being ahead of the curve, rather than a disaster. And we saw it coming. We know we've got the technology now, the modelling to sort of predict these things.
Instead of like acting on it when the disaster is already there.
Absolutely.
Like prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Excellent. Anything else? Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to add? I don't want to pull away the microphone and you say, I wish I said this.
I just have this one thing.
Yes.
Ever since the pandemic, especially, it's like I see a lot more groups and companies promoting renewable energy. I think it's amazing because it prevents the usage of too much greenhouse gases, and protecting things like our ozone layer. It's really important.
And it's interesting how the market forces will force people, if they've got a green alternative, then people will vote with their purse, which is really, that's kind of waking up. Excellent. Thank you very, very much for your time, and thank you for listening. I want to thank Usman for facilitating. I want to thank each of our panel members, and thank you for listening. I hope that was as enjoyable. I thought it was really good fun. I hate ending the sessions because we could go on forever, but thank you very much. And this was Bath Spa University, Russell Khayma campus, and we wish you well. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.